Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. We continue to celebrate Autism Awareness and Acceptance Month. And this morning, I want to welcome speech language pathologist Sirlon George, who joins us via phone. Good morning, Sirlon.
Good morning. So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's, recap. We've been talking about it all month long, but tell us again, what exactly is autism and how can you tell that a child in particular has autism?
Right. So, good morning, everyone. As Rawkus said, I'm a speech language pathologist, and I specialize in working with young children with autism. And to answer your question, what is autism? It's a neurological disorder that affects the way that a child understands the way the world is going on around them, as well as it really affects their social communication. So having challenges in social situations, sometimes having challenges in being able to people and to relate to the things around them, things and people around them. And tell me the other part of your question. How do we know that a child has autism, you said?
Well, yeah, you kind of answered that part there a little bit. But at what age?
Yes.
At what age do we start checking for autism?
Right. Generally, the signs of autism, it's a little more obvious around, I would say, most of the clients that I deal with tends to be somewhere around age 4. But you could definitely pick up signs of a child might be on the spectrum, not a specific diagnosis yet of autism. I would say as early as a year and a half. And there's a lot of research out there now that they're doing that we can start seeing signs of perhaps autism as early as from 3-4 months year old, as early as that. But definitely around 2 years old, when a child, those milestones like speech and language milestones are being reached, physical milestones are being reached, and the child is not meeting those milestones. Generally around 2 years old is when we kind of really see if something is going on or not.
And how important is it for us to intervene from that early age?
That's a really great question, and to me, it's like, why not? Why not do something as early as possible, even if we suspect that, even if we don't know, I should say, that the child might have autism or not. It's best that we find out as early as possible, because the earlier we get in there, is the better we are able to treat the autism as best as we can. Lay some.
All right, tell me something. In terms of that diagnosis, how do we, what is the process to get the child diagnosed? Hello, Sirlon? Hello? All right, I think we may have lost the call there. Hopefully we'll get Sirlon back on. We're chatting about autism awareness and acceptance, and she was mentioning early intervention, which is key, and getting in there as early as possible, because of course you want to be able to give the child the best possible chance, and to do so, I'm guessing it makes sense to just go in as early as possible. It's amazing to see that, from 3 to 4 months old you can start telling already, according to some research. But I do understand the milestones, because when you go to the doctor with your children, the doctor is very clear about, is your child able to do this,
certain
that, and the
like
other?
A checklist, yeah.
And there's a checklist that they give you.
Yeah.
And I guess from then you can start telling, all right, so we need to focus on this area, we need to check on this area and see what is possible. Like, you can tell if your child can see properly, for example, or hear properly, or understand and learn to speak properly as well.
Yeah.
All that is a big part of it.
Yeah, and I know that we started a conversation a few weeks ago, and we were also talking about the fact that, the children with autism, they're often very talented in certain areas and certain spheres. But I think that she's back.
So Sirlon is back with us, I think, via phone line. Sirlon?
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm here.
All right. So we lost that call there just now. But tell me, I wanted you to speak a little bit about the diagnosis process. Like, what is the process that the child goes through to get diagnosed for autism?
Right. So that's another really good question. To get a diagnosis of autism, generally professionals is needed. So a mental pediatrician, speech language, all come together and do specific testing, and there's not a blood test or anything as such that you to see if a child has autism. It's a lot of observation, specific things that we're looking for. Here in Trinidad, definitely parents who tend to do the diagnosis. And even if a child does not go to the developmental pediatrician, a speech language pathologist like myself, who's trained specifically to diagnose and who have the clinical skills to do that, can diagnose for autism here. And as I said, we can do as early as from 2 years.
Yeah. And upon diagnosis, tell me the next steps for the family. What should the family do next after finding out, all right, my child is autistic? What do I do then? Sirlon?
With,
all right, Sirlon, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
We seem to be having some trouble hearing you. We getting you breaking up really, really badly. So I think we're going to try to see how we can rectify that situation. And if we can continue, then great. If not, we'll have to try and get you on another time, because I think the information is very, very important. And I don't want us to not be able to hear it. And especially as we celebrate Autism Awareness Month, I think it's important that we share that information properly and clearly. So we'll try again to get Sirlon back on. If not today, another day.
Yeah, it was. I think the conversation started off interested, and I know a lot of people who have autistic children or know a parent who has an autistic child would have been listening in to hear some information. But I think one of the takeaways, of course, is early intervention, right? When you realize, because as a parent, as a legal guardian, you will be watching your baby. How are they building those blocks? How are they communicating? How are they letting you know that they're hungry, that something is wrong? And so I think once you realize something, early intervention.
The tricky thing for me about it is that there are lots of parents who are in denial,
of course,
about their child's learning abilities. And the thing is that, unfortunately, there's still some level of a stigma. And I think that's what we're definitely trying to break here, is to say, there's nothing to be ashamed of. Go get tested. Go get the child tested. If you're seeing that they're not meeting the milestones that the doctor is recommending, you go and get the child tested so you can give that child the best possible options for life. You don't want them to be held back or to have, not be able to keep up with their classmates and not understand why, because you're doing more damage than you're doing good. So, we need to break that stigma of shame. I mean, we've been talking about that all morning long, right? Breaking that stigma of shame so that we can have a better society for it. If we're able to say, all right, we have early detection, you get the help you needed, then you're able to function better in life. I mean, on whatever path or plane that means for you or for your child in that matter. So don't be ashamed to go get diagnosed, to go get tested and see exactly what may be right, what may be wrong, what you can fix, what you will have to live with and make adjustments for. That's very, very important to learn and understand.
I think what people also need to understand as well, Rawkus, is that autism is a spectrum. So maybe your child mightn't be one of the ones to be, socially isolated. Maybe they may fall on a different spectrum. And so that early intervention will also help you to figure out where your child falls and be able to give that sort of intervention that is needed. Because I think when people hear autism, they hear default, they hear disability, when it's not like that. You understand? There are different types, or autism looks differently to certain children. And of course, autism looks differently on certain children, and I think that early intervention will allow you to see where your child falls on that spectrum and what needs to be done to get them where you need them to be.
I know. I've encountered people where the parent doesn't even realize that something is wrong with the child because they also may be autistic and was never treated for it, and they don't even recognize that might be something that they might need to be able to help with both themselves and
their
child.
children.
It's a tricky cycle, but it's a world that we live in and we have to navigate it, and I encourage you to try your best and navigate it as well as you can. We unfortunately not getting Sirlon back on today, but we will try to get her on another time to be able to chat about it. When we come back, we have a singer, songwriter, and a minister in music joining us on set because he has brand new music dedicated to his one true love. Stay tuned, you'll find out a little bit more about it when we come back.